Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. Joining me today, we've got two of the most cultured members of Football Daily. We've got Chris Hamill and Patrick Van Straten.
Thigh-slapping intro.
Yeah, what a way to kick it off. And on the agenda today, we'll talk about Leroy Sané. That's because Ishak Joey has asked, is Sané the missing piece to Bayern winning the Champions League? But before we begin, if you haven't subscribe to Eurofootball Daily yet, why not? Please do so and hit that notification bell to never miss a video as well. So basically this story's come about because AS and Kicker, so the Spanish and German publications, say that Leroy Sane is part of Bayern's continued summer revamp. They've already brought in Lucas Hernandez, they've obviously brought in Pavard, and they've signed Jan Vet Arp, the young striker from Hamburg as well. According to reports, they're now targeting Rodri, Leroy Sane, and Timo Werner, which would be, frankly, the most ridiculous summer of all time. Probably unlikely. But Bayern President Uli Hoeneß has said this morning that they are very much targeting Leroy Sané. So, Chris, Leroy Sané, good move for Bayern, and what have they've obviously lost Robben and Ribéry. How big a loss is that to them?
Yeah, a sensational move. I'm not sure it clinches in the Champions League. I think the question might be going a bit over the top in that regard, but if they're able to secure his signature, one of two players who's put up double digits for goals and assists in the last 2 seasons in the Premier League, then that would be insane, wouldn't it? In Sané, because Manchester City, he's done enough when he's come on to warrant a starting position, hasn't he? But unfortunately for him, they've just got generational talent in that final third, and he's sort of less of a pet player than players like Bernardo Silva, than his other attacking counterparts, people that are willing to fill in certain holes, do certain defensive duties, kind of so on and so forth. So he always has kind of struck me as the odd one out at Manchester City. Raheem Sterling is his darling, Starling. So not totally unwarranted, this rumour. Kind of semi-feasible, I think, but they would have to part ways with a lot of money. But before we kind of move on to that scenario, I guess we did want to just kind of touch upon Robben and Ribéry and some of their numbers and how it's kind of been panning out for them in seasons gone by, because, it's two legends of the game departing a Titan team.
Couldn't put it better.
So let's just give them the respect that they're due. So 29th Bundesliga title in the bag now for Bayern, 7th in a row. 36-year-old Ribéry joined the club 2007 for then a club record of 25 million euros. He leaves having scored 124 goals in 424 games. He's won a record 9 league titles as well, 5 Pacals and a Champions League along the way, and should have got that Ballon d'Or nod in 2013, I believe, when they won the treble. Robben's joining him, going out at the same time. One for the romantics there. He joined from Real Madrid for 25 million euros. What a bargain that seems like now. 144 goals in 308 games, won scores of trophies too. But given the impression they've made on German football, they probably won't be as missed as much as those numbers reflect, given how their careers have dwindled in the past 2 or 3 seasons owing to injuries, maybe even more so than that. So Ribéry, hasn't played over 1,500 league minutes since 2013-14. In 18-19, just 6 goals and 3 assists, only 10 starts in the Bundesliga as well. Robben's a pretty similar story in that regard. Hasn't started more than 21 Bundesliga games in any of his last 10 seasons at the club.
Damning, isn't it?
13 goals and 9 assists in the league in 16-17, so still contributing big time there. 17-18, that came down to 10 goal contributions, and last season just 4 goals in 564 league minutes. So while they deserve all the plaudits, while they deserve to be, nominated for Bayern's Hall of Fame, they are getting much more end product out of the likes of Gnabry, out of the likes of Coman, who's got his own injury woes as well. So it'd be interesting to see, if they brought Sané in, which one they would replace in that regard. Because Gnabry's kind of continued to defy his title as a periphery player, a peripheral player. I think he put up the second most goals, didn't he, in the squad after Lewandowski. So if you brought Sané in, Pato, who's getting the chop? And do you think it's the right move, I guess?
I mean, I'd happily bin Gnabry for Sane. Like, I think Gnabry's been good this season, but he hasn't been like sensational. I think, to be honest, like Lewandowski's just put the team on his back this season. Like, Muller's been bad. I mean, Muller certainly would get the chop before anybody. Like, Muller's had a dreadful season and has really declined. And he doesn't offer any kind of like great physical power. He's not particularly creative. I mean, Lewandowski this season was their best goal scorer and their second best creator after James, who obviously didn't get played that much. So, I don't know, somebody like Sané who can actually create something out of nothing, I think is really necessary, because I don't think if you had Timo Werner up front, you'd have seen nearly as good a season from Gnabry. I think he's just been the beneficiary of Lewandowski having a fantastic creative season as well as a good goal-scoring season. So, I would bring Sané in and probably park him on the right, where I think he's better. I mean, I think if you can get Leroy Sané for the rumoured price, which is about 100 million, I think that's a bargain. If I had a choice between Eden Hazard and Leroy Sané, both for 100 million, I would take Sané every single time. I think he's...
As Bayern I would, as Real Madrid I perhaps wouldn't.
But Sané's output is just as good as Hazard's, and he's 5 years younger.
I feel like, I mean, the goal contribution, the goal deficit between Real and Barcelona requires immediate impact, and I think Hazard would bring that regardless of the system or the manager, whereas Sané might have to go through a bedding in period at Real Madrid. I feel like it's set up for him at Bayern to succeed.
But Hazard could easily have that as well. And I mean, Sané actually is at least as good a goal scorer as Hazard. Like, he doesn't take penalties, and yet he's always within a couple of goals of Hazard. Like, Hazard takes penalties as well, and has yet never put up really exceptional goal scoring numbers. Like. Plus, the thing that really makes Hazard amazing at Chelsea is that he is really good at getting chances in the final third, really good at creating, but also amazing at ball progression. You don't need his ball progression as much at Real Madrid because you've got amazing ball progressors, two of the top 5 in Spain, in Modric and Kroos. They were both sensational at ball progression this season. So, I don't know, it just feels like you can get a guy who's 5 years younger and is pretty much going to give you the same output. And also, Sané is just really exciting to watch. Like, I think this would be the perfect move for Bayern. They should absolutely do everything they can to get Sané.
Yeah, from a Bayern perspective, I think it's most worrying for Kingsley Coman. I mean, he's been great when he's played. I think he's averaging close to 4 dribbles per 90, taking over 2 shots per 90. But he's missed missed 19 games this season through injury. He missed 21 the year before, and I think it was 23 the year before that. Just too many injuries for a guy. I mean, I know he's only 22, so he's got plenty of time on his side, but this is pretty worrying.
Well, he's had one more injury, hasn't he? One more serious injury, and he's considering time.
Really?
Calling it time in football, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it must just take it out of you. I mean, like, he is still really good when he plays, but I wonder if he should just, like, move somewhere else and try and start with a new medical team and just, a different style of football, because it feels... I don't know if he'd be that horrified at the prospect of moving somewhere else. Like... He's not having the greatest time of it at Bayern. Like,
he said he's ready to concede that his body is just not well equipped for football, which is a sorry state of affairs.
He's in the perfect place for his career. I don't think you necessarily need to call time on the medical department because he keeps on doing his. I don't even know what it is.
But there are different styles of football in different places, and they do have different approaches. Like, for instance, Juve has managed to extend the career of certain players. Where other clubs failed, and it's not a criticism of Bayern's medical department or whatever, but it might just be that they use a particular system of rehabilitation that maybe something else would be better suited.
I'd say that after the Premier League,
I know enough to judge them.
After the Premier League, the Bundesliga is probably the most physical, demanding, and youngsters tending to clock up far more minutes in the Bundesliga than anywhere else. So it might be an element of rotation that would be welcome to him at teams in Serie A. But I actually think the more interesting kind of like the nuance of this conversation is going back to Hazard or Sané for £100 million. And I mean, do you think Sané's, don't get me wrong, massive fan of Sané. I think he's going to be an absolute superstar. But it would be interesting to see him in slightly more testing conditions. So he's been able to kind of run amok, hasn't he, in Pep Guardiola's system? Admittedly, not when he's kind of played him as a left wing back. That was an experiment that didn't work at all. But going back to who'd be more suited to Real Madrid. Do you think Sané puts up the same numbers in this current Los Blancos side?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. Really, I think Hazard's main weakness is that he doesn't shoot enough and he's too selfless. Whereas Sane, I think, is absolutely lethal in the box and is pretty clinical. Increasingly so this year. I think it's 14 goals and 14 assists in the league and Champions League. I just think he's a great player, and he offers something quite different to Hazard in that he's very prepared to just toe the byline as well and whip balls back. That's why Sterling's profited so much in the last couple of years off so many assists from Sane, so has Aguero. I think both would be fantastic for Real Madrid, but I'm kind of with Pat. I think if you get the choice between them, you go for Sane or Sterling, just on the years they've got in front of them. So yeah,
it just feels like
Sane.
It just feels like what Hazard's good at is not actually as necessary for Real Madrid. Like he's really good at ball progression. He's a good creator. Those aren't really things that you need from him. You need somebody who's going to take a bunch of shots and score a bunch of goals. And actually, Hazard has never been. He's always been a solid goal scorer, but he's not like particularly prolific. And like I said, he does take penalties as well. So like it will require him to change his game at the age of 28, and his pace is going to start to go at some point. Whereas with Sane was putting up great goal and assist numbers with a pretty mediocre Schalke team when he was 20, like putting up a goal or assist every other game. So I don't think it's just like super club effects, but Bernardo Silva's got a ton of minutes this season, David Silva's got a ton of minutes this season, and Sane's way ahead of them in goals and assists. So I mean, I sort of just feel like you can still see that he's exceptional even on an exceptional side. And I think actually Real Madrid, he's a really dynamic player. Like I think they'd really enjoy having him there, because if you were trying to find the guy around right now who's most similar to the young Cristiano Ronaldo, it is Leroy Sané.
Yeah, I agree with large portions of that. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here in that, what if Real Madrid? Do you want to be in a position where you're reliant on Luka Jovic scoring 20 goals or 25 goals? I'm guessing Karim Benzema's not going to put up the same numbers again next season, and then spend 100 million on someone like Leroy Sané, who probably, I'd imagine, doesn't guarantee you as many goals as Eden Hazard. So
do you really think so? I think
why?
I don't think he does. I can see Hazard in La Liga. I mean, this is all just kind of gut instinct, isn't it? Scoring 25 to 30 goals, whereas I think Leroy.
Really?
Yeah, I think Leroy. I mean, he's never
scored over 20.
I think it's 16.
And he won't take penalties, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got 10.
And I think he scored that at Lille as well. I can just I can see him probably having just more freedom in the final third. Maybe I know he's not enjoyed playing as a false number 9, but maybe playing as a second striker at Real Madrid and just kind of his numbers spiking in the same way that Gareth Bale's did in the first couple of seasons. In that I suppose he doesn't have to be. He can be more than a traditional winger to Real Madrid, whereas I think Leroy Sané, he would be predominantly playing, as an out-and-out winger. It's an interesting scenario. I'm just exploring other avenues here, guys.
Yeah, no, I sort of, it's all hearsay really. I think they'd both be great at Real Madrid.
Yeah, I mean,
if I had to guess
the
who would
bottom line,
contribute
isn't it?
more goals, I'd probably say Sane. But who would have a bigger impact on the overall
they'd be
team?
about level.
Maybe Hazard. But it's kind of impossible to say. But before we move on to Dortmund, because we need to talk about Dortmund's crazy week, we should just say that Bayern have also been linked with Henry Onyekuru. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. From Everton, who's never actually played for the club. He's been on loan at Anderlecht and this year at Galatasaray. They went on to win the title. I think he's got 14 goals, 3 assists. His numbers look pretty good, but he's actually not completing. He's completing under half of his dribbles when he tries, which is a bit worrying.
Strikes me as
he's young though.
More of an RB Leipzig sort of acquisition.
Yeah, I was kind of confused about this, but they're also being linked with Nicolas Pepe, but we've talked to death about him, so we won't go back into them. But, Pat, we need to talk about Dortmund. Crazy week for them.
Yeah, they've forked out about 70 mil this week combined on Nico Schulz, who's obviously the left back out of Hoffenheim, Julian Brandt from Leverkusen, and Torgan Hazard from Borussia Mönchengladbach. So I think these are really great moves. I mean, these are 3 creative players, and I think a front 4 next season of potentially Royce, Sancho, Brandt and Hazard would be really, really exciting if they can keep hold of Sancho, which I think they can because they've got tons of money. Royce, I think it's sensible that they're thinking about how do we replace Royce's output, because Royce has been, to me, quite obviously their player of the season. He's been unbelievable.
German player of the year,
He's been much superior to Sancho, I think.
Do you think?
Sancho's overperformed his goals and assists. Royce is exactly at expectation, and he's still better than Sancho. And Sancho's like, don't get me wrong, to be the second best player and be this good at 18 is remarkable, but Royce has been better in every department, I think.
Okay.
But obviously you can't bank on that happening again. So I think these are good moves. I think Brandt's a bit of an interesting one because I do like Julian Brandt, but I do think that there are holes in his game, and he's been shifted around quite a bit this season. I think actually Leverkusen have been misleading this season. Like I keep getting messages from people saying like, look how many goals Kai Havertz has got as like a midfielder. Kai Havertz hasn't really been a midfielder this season. Doesn't really do, not even really a 10, like because he doesn't do any creation. He's not creative.
Yeah, his key passes are way down and his shots are way up, aren't they?
He doesn't really do.
But he's playing Ostbolland. He's not like
he doesn't do ball progression. He doesn't do a lot of creativity. He doesn't do defence. What he's done is be a second striker.
It's a little bit like that season that Dele Alli had, but he's less well-rounded in that sense because Dele Alli still put up decent defensive numbers, didn't he? But
yeah, exactly, and also is involved in the press. But I mean, I think that Brandt is a really good signing. He's still really young. Obviously, huge creative numbers over the back end of this season, over 3 key passes a game. Torgan Hazard, you expect is going to hit the ground running, like double figures for goals and assists the last 2 seasons.
He's just ready-made for it, isn't he?
Yeah. He's just fantastic, and what is he? He's 25. So I think that this is what they've now got is a front line composed of players who can pretty much play anywhere in a front four, which means that they can mix and match based on the situation, which is really good. And as for Schultz, he's again a really creative player. Got 5 assists this season, I think, but against an expected assist total of 10 or 11. So a really good creator, though that is on a supercharged Hoffenheim attack. So it'll be interesting to see how that transfers to a much less competent attacking side in Dortmund, I would say.
And the fullbacks at Dortmund have been great this season, haven't they?
Yeah.
Hakimi, Piszczek's been unreal.
But this is the thing, like, Schultz could be really good and still be a downgrade on Hakimi because Hakimi was so great.
They've also played Diallo on the left quite a bit.
Yeah,
he's actually been really good,
He's been fantastic,
but in a way, it was probably the player that I knew least about when I was doing the research for this and probably seen the least of. But Schultz I was actually kind of really excited about. I think he takes something like he provides 2.2 key passes. Yeah. And for context, Andy Robertson, who's widely regarded as probably the best left back in England at least, only creates 1.4, so he's a real attacking force. But it'll be interesting to say.
But Hoffenheim also take more shots than Liverpool. Like Hoffenheim are one of the top 3 sides in Europe for shots per game. So I mean, like,
I think by expected points they finished second, right, as well.
Really?
Yeah, Hoffenheim.
Because I think it was Because I think it will really come down to the defensive end as to how good Schultz can be. That's where the concern is potentially. But Guerrero's contract ends next summer. Hakimi went. And Diallo's technically a centre-back, so I think overall it's just a sensible move.
Chris, do you think these moves, sorry to interrupt, do you think these moves change the dynamic? Oh, we don't obviously know how Bayern are going to finish up at the end of this summer, but do you think they've changed the dynamics of the Bundesliga going into next year?
Yeah, I saw a couple of tweets suggesting this makes them title favourites, which is ridiculous. What they're doing is smart. They're bracing themselves for a massive Bayern overhaul in the smartest possible way. And these are players that Bayern, had they not been stockpiling money for the last 2 or 3 years, and had their performance not come down so noticeably this season, these are players that Bayern might have pinched from them. Julian Brandt's been long linked with Bayern. He's been an outstanding young player for a number of years now, albeit his form has been inconsistent. He had a horrible first half to the season, and he's benefited massively from Peter Bosz coming in and being moved into kind of a midfield 3 most of the time, I'm led to believe. And Torgan Hazard. Gnabry put up similar numbers at Hoffenheim, was it? And they just took him, didn't they? But they're going for elite superstars, and that's left kind of a vacuum for Dortmund to enter in and pinch up and
the very good
and hoover up all this young domestic talent, established domestic talent. A little bit like what Ajax did, not last year, maybe the year before with Ziyech and bringing in Blind last year. Really smart moves that are going to establish themselves as a dominant force in German football. Does not shift the balance of power because Bayern are going to do a madness, aren't they, quite frankly. But they all seem like Bayern signings. It all seems, to borrow one of Pato's phrases, like joined up thinking. Like these are all players who profile like our favourite Borussia Dortmund players, from years gone by. And hopefully, in someone like Torgan Hazard, you have a ready-made replacement for Royce, who put up an unbelievable amount of minutes last season, considering where he was in years gone by. For him to be able to replicate that form at 31, 32, really difficult next season. So I commend their spending. I think it makes a mockery of people who are willing to spend 50, 60 million pounds on the likes of Perisic, Rakitic, And let's see, if some other really good young wide talent, not specifically wide talent, but talent in Germany like Leon Bailey, moves on.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of it, yeah.
It's going to be absolutely fascinating. But let us know what you guys think about Dortmund and Bayern's business this summer. And why don't you vote in the poll above about whether you think Sané or Hazard would do better at Real Madrid.
I like the German accent on that as well. Think.
What do you think about it? We'll move on to big match preview. Big match preview this week is Atalanta versus Sassuolo, which is taking place on Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. It's obviously the last round of Serie A fixtures for the year. And Champions League football is what this is all about, really. So Atalanta are on 66 points, but they have a plus 29 goal difference. They obviously play Sassuolo. Inter Milan are level on points, but have a plus 23 goal difference, so that's not likely to be overturned. They're playing 17th place Empoli, and AC Milan are a point behind, but they play Spal. So you'd expect Inter and AC to win, probably.
Although Empoli have won 3 in the bounce, haven't they?
This is true. They have indeed.
And they're fighting to stay up.
And they're fighting to stay up, but you'd probably favour them. So this is a massive, massive game for Atalanta, Chris.
It is. I bloody love Atalanta as well. Let's have it right. I'd much rather have Gasparini's men in the Champions League, giving Papu Gomez sort of the sign-off he deserves before departing for China, which almost happened this year, didn't it?
Really?
We've spoke about Atalanta quite a lot, haven't we? So I imagine the guys are quite clued up. The season that Duvan Zapata has had 22 goals, 7 assists. The creative force that Ilicic and Papu Gomez, remain. I think their captain, Gomez, is putting up, 3 key passes roughly per 90 still. At his ripe old age, with his diminutive stature. Bloody love him. Does he still wear that Peppa Pig captain's armband?
Not sure.
Iconic. And they've got some really interesting players, haven't they, in midfield, like Remo Freuler, who's been one of the surprise packages when it's come to ball progression this season. He's sort of got it on both ends, hasn't he? We've kind of profiled him in a few podcasts, on a few of these shows, in fact. So nothing really overwhelmingly new for me to say. Quite interested as to whether Gasparini would be tempted at one last crack at a big job, given the availability or apparent availability of a lot of big jobs. Ranieri leaving, Roma, Spalletti seemingly getting fired or getting the boot. I'm not sure how official that is. Inter, although Conte looks like a shoe-in for that. I mean, he's had his fingers burnt at Inter before, hasn't he, Gasparini? And he just sort of refused to change formation, I think, and it lasted about 5 games before he was given the boot. So he might think, I'm 60 years old, I'm a bit of a legend at Atalanta, we've got a great youth system, one of the best in the country, I'm going to stay out, stick it out here. But I think there's some pretty interesting players at Sassuolo, their opponents. You guys spoke about a couple of them in the podcast, didn't you? So why don't you take over from me? I think you've got more interesting things to say.
Well, one of them is Stefano Sensi, who's a 23-year-old central midfielder for Sassuolo. He first emerged actually in San Marino, and then transferred by, I think, via Cesena to Sassuolo a couple of years ago. He looks really good. His stats look like this year. 3.1 tackles and interceptions, 2.4 key passes from central midfielder. Only 9 central midfielders in Europe top that. But there's some quite interesting talent throughout the side, Pat.
Well, I mean, the star for them in attack for a long, long time has been Domenico Berardi, because they've been in the league for like 6 years.
I know you're a big fan of him.
Well, I don't know. I thought that his career would actually turn out really differently, because when he was 20, I remember, so this was 4 years ago, he got 15 goals and 10 assists in the league.
Was that when they finished 6th?
And he got, I think so, maybe. And he had like 0.6 expected goals and assists per game in a top league with a newly promoted side as a 20-year-old. And next season it went down to 0.56 XG and XA. Then it was like 0.49. Now it's like 0.4. It's gone down every season, which is weird given that he's now 24. And his base numbers are really good. This year he had nearly 4 shots a game and 2 key passes, but the value of those chances has really decreased. And for a minute it looked like he was going to become a superstar, get a really big move, but for some reason he's stayed and looks like he's stagnated a bit. Or it's entirely possible the team has just got worse around him, because while they're 10th this season, XG says they're about 13th best. They could still finish as low
really low down,
as 16th. So
they get pillaged for talent quite regularly as well, don't they? I think they play quite an attractive brand of football, and the likes of Politano, chief creators that have come and gone for them
And Defrel
in
as
the last
well.
couple of years. Yeah.
And, I mean, I think under Di Francesco, that was kind of what they're known for as well, right? But I mean, I guess a key matchup in this game is going to be Paul Lirola, who's this 21-year-old Spanish right back, versus Papu Gomez.
What? Can you say that name again, please?
Paul Lirola.
Extremely satisfying.
But he was co-owned by Juventus, I think, and they eventually sold him fully to Sassuolo. But he's still 21. His defensive numbers are not amazing. I think it's like 2 tackles and interceptions a game, but he's a really good creator and a really good dribbler. And Papu Gomez in this game is obviously going to try and pin him back. If he can get the better of Gomez, then it will be much, much harder for Atalanta to get a purchase on the game. But on the other hand, if he's too busy dealing with Gomez to get into the final third, that's a really big attacking piece missing for Sassuolo. And then they won't get the service to Babacar and to Berardi. So I think that'll be an interesting matchup to watch. But the other game, how are we not talking about Fiorentina and Genoa as well, where Fiorentina could feasibly go down because Genoa, if Genoa beat them, Genoa will stay up and Fiorentina could go down, which would be absolutely insane. Imagine if this Fiorentina side with Lafont, Milenkovic, Chiesa, Simeone, Vertu, like all these guys.
Jordan Vertu's had a good season.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
Do you know why they might go down? Same case as Sassuolo. Too many damn draws.
Really?
16.
16
draws.
Is a lot of
you know how many draws Sunderland got in 46 league games?
Jesus
19.
Christ.
They are the Sunderland of Serie A, Fiorentina, and Sassuolo.
But they're not.
I don't know how I managed to get Sunderland.
You were wondering how he'd do
Continental
it, and he's done it. What I also want to own is who. What I also want to ask is who co-owns players these days?
I know.
It's
Italian
just
clubs.
the Italians.
Mascherano
Why are they
vibe.
so dodge?
Yeah, very, very suspicious. Who knows what's going on there?
Suspect.
Lads, we need a quick prediction. Chris, Atalanta hosting Sassuolo on Sunday night. Who you think?
Right?
Yeah, Divan Zapata going to finish the season on a high. 2 goals for him, 0 for Sassuolo.
Yeah, 3-0 Atalanta.
Yeah, Sassuolo have an awful recent record in this game. I think they've lost their last 8 league meetings. I'm going for a 4-1 Atalanta thrashing. Let's go on to quickfire questions. We're just going to do one quickfire question today because we've been talking for ages. And this comes from Sam. And he says, who do you think is the ideal candidate to take over from Bruno Genesio at Lyon? Chris?
Oh, coming to me first, are we? Okay, well, I don't like Lyon because they bought Moussa Dembele for well below market rate, and he's been absolutely unreal for them in a limited amount of minutes this season.
So are you thinking Alan Pardew? Or
yeah, Moyes.
Pulis?
Let's go with Moyes. No, Pulisic, he is exactly where he should be at Middlesbrough, isn't he?
He's left.
Really?
Well,
absolute scenes.
Finito.
Well, he deserves to go to another kind of industrial town, match up there. Okay, I mean, they've been linked with Jose Mourinho and Rafa Benitez, haven't they? But they're quite defensive-minded coaches, which doesn't profile very well with the squad. And I want one of those at Celtic. So, I'll throw over to you, Pat, because you've heard some rumours in the grapevine, haven't you?
Well, the rumour from L'Equipe is that they're interested in Mikel Arteta, which would be kind of fun. But
interesting.
But if I were looking for a coach who could develop young players, play attractive football, and is available, then Quique Setien is obviously around. And I don't think Pablo Machin has
No, I don't think he does,
job
no.
since leaving Sevilla. Both of them would be great. Machin was doing an incredible job at Sevilla, was unlucky to be fired. Setien is a little bit more of a gamble, but I think that, with the talent he'd have available to him, it would be really, really exciting. And he'd really increase the value of those players. And I just want to see Lyon play fun football because they've got an absolutely staggeringly good academy.
Yeah. Oh, and a squad as well, if they keep that squad together.
It feels like that squad's going to get rid.
Yeah, it feels like it's coming to the end, doesn't it? They're also linked with Gallardo, who's Gallardo maybe, who's the River Plate boss. They're also linked with Laurent Blanc, who I think actually had a really he's sort of viewed as a sort of miserable defensive Frenchman now, but he actually had quite a good record at PSG. I quite like Laurent Blanc.
What about the Getafe manager?
Oh yeah, what's his name?
Is that Mendilibar?
No, Mendilibar is Ibar, isn't it?
Ibar.
Who are unreal defensively, by the way. He concede like 0 shots
Oh
per
no,
game.
the Getafe manager is the guy who brought them up from the
Yeah,
second division or something.
It'll come to us, but he's overperformed
Oh, no.
for like the last 2 or 3 seasons, and I'm led to believe they play quite a nice, expansive style of football, or at least a useful style of football. Who else? Final suggestions are
Eddie Howe.
coming to me now.
God, can you
What about Leo Jardim if he's just pissed off with how things are unfurling at Monaco?
I like it.
Um,
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best you're going to get on a
Nice.
Friday morning.
Leon fans, fill your boots. Let us know in the comments below who you want. And we'll roll straight into the end board. Chris, what should the good people go and do now?
You can go and watch me get smacked about on Stat Wars for 2 episodes in a row if you want. Spoiler alert, but I don't care because don't watch it. I embarrassed myself several times. And we have Olivia Dodcast's
The game's
podcast.
gone mad. She's shaking her head behind the camera.
The game's gone mad, so go and watch that. Episode 4 or 5, hitting you up.
Nice.
Episode 4.
No, just go and watch me beat Hamill.
Nice. Go do that. And come back tomorrow as well. I take on Babinho, his first fixture in quite a while.
Is he showing up?
Finally.
Yeah,
He's about 6
about
fixtures
time.
behind. But yeah, guys, see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.